Warning. The following short film is meant for educational purposes only and should not be taken otherwise. Apex Crime Lords does not condone, encourage, or glorify the actions of the individuals covered in this program. Viewer discretion advised. It was almost midnight of August 1977 when a 16-year-old teenager named Alan Kaiser walked into the dark alley of Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, and encountered his misfortune. He met death at the hands of Louis Melito, who was instructed by a limping Sammy the Bull, one of the most famous mobsters in New York City. Have you heard of Sammy the Bull? No? If not, then you're in luck. You have probably stumbled onto this channel. But if you have, I bet you're as curious as we are. We will be unveiling the true story of a real person, something you cannot fathom how he did what he had to do. Salvatore Sammy the Bull Gravano was born on March 12, 1945, in a suburban area of Brooklyn, New York. He was a typical kid from a foreign family. When his parents moved from Sicily to a new city and started a new life, he should have grown to become like any normal kid, but he didn't turn out that way. He was the youngest. His older brother, Alfonso Gravano, was already known as a Sicilian mafia and bootlegger, so a life of crime literally ran in his family blood, a mark from his dark and cold-blooded ancestry. His nickname, the Bull, was a prominent mark from his childhood. A bunch of older bullies stole his bicycle one day. At 10 years old, he knew that everything he owned should only be his. He fought back ferociously. He literally looked like a charging bull toward the boys. In a nearby cafe, a group of mobsters were in awe of what they had seen. It was remarkable how desperate he was during that time. They helped him to retrieve his stolen bike from the thieves. As a child, Salvatore would always have to fight for himself. He was known as a dyslexic student and was underperforming at school. Little Sammy had incidents of punching school officials. He had more similar encounters when he went to an incorrigible school. In the end, he was pulled out since he could no longer be disciplined for his actions. At the age of 13, little Sammy, who was called by the Gravano family as they said he looked like his Uncle Sammy, joined the Rampers. He also joined the U.S. Army and served as the mess hall cook. He rose to the position of corporal, and it was the start of him being a commander. He liked to play with his power and sway people like the extension of his hand. He had the nastiest temper, and he knew he could never control it. He liked this kind of power. He never wanted people to know that he could become a weak man, because he always believed that he was as strong as his childhood pet name. What are they most known for? Who are they affiliated with? What position did they hold? In early adulthood, Sammy the Bull was known as the most loyal member of the Gambino crime family, but he also became a snitch before being snitched upon. He brought this kind of thinking to the Mafia. It was the perfect job for him. He seized the power that he always wanted and craved. It was like playing chess for him. He liked the idea of people being terrified of that kind of power. If he doesn't like you or thinks that you don't deserve to live, Sammy the Bull will be doing you a favor, and he will not hesitate to pull the trigger. He was known for playing around with his favorite weapon before taking a shot. His ruthlessness also took the lives of 19 people. For people who are watching like you, these are just numbers on the LCD screen. But to the victims' families and friends, they are an old happy memory or a favorite pal who had the most interesting laugh. They were real people who met their tragedy in the hands of a self-absorbed stranger. In an interview, he insisted that he never killed anyone who was innocent.
What about innocent bystanders, people coming down the street?
They wouldn't be hurt unless they interfered with it. And then they're not an innocent bystander anymore. I had a .357 Magnum, and anybody who would interfere with the hit team, I would take them out. There's that whole myth that we only kill ourselves. That shoots that in the ass a little bit.
He truly believes that it is justifiable to end someone's life because he thinks they are bad people. If they kept pissing him off, these people did not deserve forgiveness or punishment that would straighten out their wrongdoing. No further chances. Sammy the Bull would give you just a moment to listen to the click of his weapon and nada. Nothing more for you. In the Colombo crime family, he underwent several series of betrayals. Being one of the Rampers led to his encounter in the Cosa Nostra in the late 1960s. He started joining the activities involving larceny, hijacking, and armed robberies. Later, he became interested in loan sharking and racketeering. Intimidation was his favorite hobby.
I was doing loan sharking, stealing cars, doing burglaries, break an arm here, break a leg there.
Carmine the Snake Persico took notice of this bright young man with a sinister and charming smile. He looked innocent, but also powerful. Carmine liked what he saw, especially when Sammy the Bull started to do the most unlawful things. The root was the jealousy streak from his comrade, Ralph Sphero. It was almost for the Bull, as he was supposed to become a made man. It was like the story of Saul and David from the Book of Samuel, an excerpt from 1 Samuel 18:7-9. As they danced, they sang, "Saul has slain his thousands, and David his tens of thousands." Saul was very angry. This refrain displeased him greatly. They have credited David with tens of thousands, he thought, but me with only thousands. What more can he get but the kingdom? And from that time on, Saul kept a close eye on David. Sphero and his comrades saw the threat of him, learning how to go through the Mafia world. He created rumors and planted doubts about him, where he intended to crush his growing ego. But Gravano knew it was pointless. His head was also as hard as his nickname. The true bull-headed monster in Brooklyn. That was his desired reputation. It was a strange encounter for him. Joe Colucci was charging him, and Sammy was abruptly thinking on his feet. His fingers pulled and released the trigger, and it went into Colucci's skull. It was deafening, but he could only focus on the unfamiliarity. After releasing that second shot, he felt like his senses turned into a whiff of smoke. In the end, he was transferred to the Gambino family to avoid that said conflict. He went back to zero. As an associate under the capo of his namesake, Salvador Toto Arello. At that time, something inside him was triggered. He was blamed for something he didn't do. He was indicted for the double murder of the Dunn brothers, until he was released for the unreliability of the witness's account due to insanity. He became inclined with a new interest, robbery. While he did some stealing in the past, it was different at that time. It became like an obsession and a new part of himself that he'd never discovered before. Because of this, he rose and became one of the Gambino soldiers. He was also ordered to end the life of his brother-in-law, Nicholas Scabetta. At first, he did not agree with this and went mad, until later he joined Frank DiCiccio's assassination plan. It was a moment of brainwashing and gaslighting. DiCiccio told him it was a form of punishment. He had no right to refuse. His broken ankle was caused by the incident in the bus stop, the after-hours club in Bensonhurst. A sudden biker gang ransacked through the scene, which led to Sammy's major ankle injury. With the big boss's permission, he received an order to fully eliminate the people of interest. Gravano had let his rage be felt by the vicious members of the gang, using only his crutch. With the new clan, Sammy the Bull was mesmerized by how things worked inside the Gambino crime family. In the late 1970s, Paul Castellano implemented sophisticated schemes such as construction, trucking, and waste disposal. From that time until the 1980s, Sammy became a millionaire with his notable possessions: a drywall and plumbing business, a large estate in rural Cream Ridge, New Jersey, investments in trotting horses, as an operator in the Plaza Suite in Brooklyn, and a popular Bensonhurst restaurant, Tolly's. Then, one of the 12, the one called Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priest and asked, "What are you willing to give me if I deliver him over to you?" So they counted out for him 30 pieces of silver. From then on, Judas watched for an opportunity to hand him over. It became an open secret in the Mafia world. The minions with a brilliant plan to take down the old master, the greediness for ruling on top of the world. It was already pouring out and gushing beyond the inflated ego. They could no longer take it as it was. It was now or never. It was a week before Christmas when the plan went smoothly as intended. Everyone was cooperative and obeyed with every instruction. The master went down and the relief came in. It was the perfect plan, until it wasn't. In this series of events, John Gotti entrusted the captain position to Sammy the Bull. This probably gave him confidence and belief in his great influence. From becoming a consigliere, and then finally the underboss of the Gambino crime family. This was after the death of DiCiccio, and the replacement for Lucasio in the same rank. He was at the peak of his career, which he thought would last forever. The members of the Gambino family thought they were flipping the tables, yet it became like gambling with their own fate. It appeared as if Castellano was telling them, "This ain't over yet." Gotti took over the clan. It was overconfidence with not minding as the brain for the betrayal of the highest-ranking member in their own clan. But in 1990, everything went upside down. NYPD detectives and FBI agents raided and arrested all of the involved: Gravano, Gotti, and Lucasio. This was after the wiretapping incident in Ravenland.
You always argue the point. At one time, you stepped out of line where I remember the steps of your father and himself. You think you stand a good chance of winning this election? Did I think it should be at least 50-50? You feel that way about it? Go ahead. Now, it turned out to be a mistake because they had 5%. Without the move. In the meantime, we had to take all these repercussions.
Sammy the Bull would never imagine that he would bite the hand that generously fed him over all those years. He was the most loyal man. He treated his conciliaries and soldiers like his own family. How interesting though, even Sammy's children did not like him at all. His former attorney, Gerard Shargle, was disqualified and declared by the prosecution as part of the evidence. With this, he doubted the chances of being released, and how he knew that would be the end of him if Gotti's betrayal would push through. He agreed to provide the state's evidence and joined hands with the prosecution on November 13, 1991, against John Gotti and the ones behind the pending cases. In 1997, Sammy the Bull was the inspiration for a biographical book of that same year. In the world of social media, Sammy the Bull found another gullible audience. He knew that he could no longer fool the people like he did back when he's in his Mafia clan. But in his social media accounts, he discovered people all over the world. The ones who would be too nosy for his Mafia escapades from the 1970s to the late 1980s. Some people want to go out of the movie theater or their comfortable couches in front of their television screens. Maybe even setting aside their comic books or favorite novel series. They want to know more about real, bad people. These were the ones that Sammy was looking for. He didn't care about being a high-ranked member of one of the 5 families. Sammy was only thinking of one thing, his own survival. Becoming an important witness led to the life imprisonment of John Gotti and Frank Locascio, without a possible grant of parole. Gravano was granted a 5-year prison sentence, but since he already served 4 years after the verdict, the sentence became less than a year. Under the Witness Protection Program, the Gravano family moved forward with a new identity. He moved out of Arizona until Sammy the Bull got out of prison in 2017 and released his exclusive interview in 2019.
Down and put the fucking gloves on with me. I'll show you how scared I am of you. And you're a fucking bitch. Paul got killed and John Gotti became the boss. But that's not the story. I was basically the guy who planned the hit.
Personally, I'm one of them. I like to see how bad people act like bad people. I'm not one of the good ones, because I'm not considered holy and an angel, but I'm not a devil either. It's interesting to see how bad people can do bad things that they are repeatedly shamed by the world, but in their mind, they do not see the cruelty or any wrongdoings. Nothing else matters to them except people seeing them as the weakest person. They also know that they're humans, but they don't care. They just want the power to live and do what they want to do. Sammy the Bull uses it quite well. That is quite disgustingly admirable. Because of the spilled secrets, the mob weakened even until the previous decade. The popularity of social media led to the fame of Sammy the Bull. In the public eye, people will want to know more about a crippled marksman who views himself as the cathartic hero. It's as easy as ABC. He thinks the world should bow down to him because he views himself a powerful man. He wants everyone to respect him. Like the bull, he is a strong man with huge horns that can intimidate and scare everyone in town. It was like the story of Cain and Abel in the Bible. Sammy the Bull was the real-life Cain. In every path, he encountered a new version of Abel. He knows that he will never become his brother's keeper. His comrades are not to be respected, as he believed that they also aimed to destroy him. Cain and Salvatore both used this heinous act as a power to control the fate of their own destiny. They both know they have no remorse for it, and they know they would do it over again if given the chance. How will they be remembered? Well, that's for you to decide. Up next, that's only the tip of the iceberg in the sanguine ocean, my pal. There's more to it. The great power over the rising community of assassinations and turncoats. Until next time, stay safe and stay dangerous.